Hi everyone, so quite a few people wanted to see a video of these ZA electronics in action in the car, not just on a bench. So mine all work. So basically I'll just go through everything they do that I can remember because there's quite a lot. So first thing is the way they get wired up is they need to be wired to the ignition if you want, or how I've done it is fit a switch under here, so it means the keys aren't left in the ignition when I'm at a show or whatever. So flick the switch and the electronics are actually on. Well, they're in standby mode. The only way you can tell that if you're not sure about which way the switch is there's a couple of white indicator lights on the electronics themselves. So if you stick your head under the dash, you can see the stock cluster under there is lit up a little bit, so it's not rocket science. So when they're in that, they're ready to just fire on straight away.
Industries 2000.
So the startup tones, you can change all of them because there's no tone generator, it's all MP3s, so you could change each one of those tones for ones from the show, but I think they sound spot on. The little sort of micro jam noise I've added in to the last tone when the electronics are firing up, and then when Kit introduces himself you can change that to whatever you want as well. The guidance system ready, there's an option in the menu to have that off all the time and it'll only flash when you indicate or whatever, or like I've got it lit permanently, and then when you flash, I'll just turn the hazards on, it'll flash on and off anyway. Also when you're indicating you get a left and right arrow, so obviously I've got the hazards on there, it's in left and right, and when it cancels it goes back to whatever message was there previously, which is pretty clever. So that should go back in a few seconds. There you go. So when the dash comes on, it starts up with the real car value, so that's service, that's mileage, 95,000, that's the time, 12:30, engine temperature low, car's off, voltage battery 12.4, fuel 74%, that's also your fuel here, oil pressure, and getting back to service. So that just scrolls through constantly, unless you change it to either the show mode or you can stop it on a certain one with the buttons. You've probably all seen a little keypad that comes with the electronics. I've got mine just under here, so it's nice and easy to get to. So the last button puts it into show mode, and then it'll just scroll through all the messages it had in the show. Again, the other buttons, you can stop it on a certain one and you can scroll through it manually like that. Change back to car values and you can scroll through them again. So when I'm driving around I like to keep mine on the engine temperature, just for my peace of mind. But it's also mirrored in the standard ones like on other electronics, so you've got your oil pressure, your temperature, fuel's here. Fuel's also here, which a few people said they don't like, and I must admit I'm one of them. I prefer it just to be here and in there, that's more than enough. I think it's on here as well actually, so I think in the next update Alessandro said he was going to change that so it just scrolls up and down like it did in the show. And that is the other great thing about these, if you're not happy with something, they can be changed. I'm sure it takes a long time for him to program everything, but I was talking to him last night and he was telling me some of the updates that are coming soon and they sound great, so he's going to change that. There's going to be an option for you to change the voice modulator from kit to car. Obviously it'll still be red, but it's still quite cool. There's quite a few other things as well, but it's just endless possibilities really. You've got your auto, normal, pursuit. There's no latching interface boards or anything like that. You just connect the wires to the buttons and it does it. no hassle whatsoever. So we'll go back to this message center because this is probably the clever thing about these electronics. I'll hold that button there, presentation on, so if you get sick of kit saying something every time you turn them on, you can turn it off. Power on classic, so that's the countdowns first, and then on the last one the dash comes on. You can change that so the electronics come on first as it counts down. Next, power off movie it's called, so that's the A Good Night's Work one. I'm sure you've all seen that, where everything scrolls backwards and it goes off in sequence. If you get sick of that, I'll change it there, classic. The electronics do that when you change something and save it, which is quite good because you know it's work. So I've changed it from the Good Night's Work one to this one. So just off, no hassle. Back on.
I am the Night Industries 2000.
Go back into the menu. So you hold the button. Presentation, power on, power off. Pursuit, you can set a speed where the car automatically changes into pursuit mode, which is quite cool. I've got mine at 50, so put my foot down, it goes into pursuit. The only thing is though, when it does that, it doesn't make the touch tone, but Alessandro said he's going to change that in the next update as well, so it makes the beep. Next one, warnings. These are warnings I'll show you in the driving video. Speed, so I've got that set at 70, which is the national speed limit, so if I go over 70, kit will say slow down, you're going to crash. Temperature, I've got set at 220, so when it gets a bit too hot, I can't remember what he says actually. He says something. I've changed all the MP3s to ones in the show anyway. RPM, so if I rev the engine too much, kit tells me off. Fuel, that gets down to about 25% down here, which it actually shows you, which is quite good. I'll go back to that one and then there. It'll tell me where the warning is for when the fuel's low. And then again, I've changed that to on the show from season 1, where he says, if you glance at my fuel gauges, I'm virtually operating on fumes. Yeah, warnings, back to that one. Time, the dimmer function, pretty self-explanatory. You can have an oil change reminder. I haven't got that. Voice box settings, you can choose the intensity of the bar graphs. You can also choose the volume of when kit talks. That's as part of the dash. I mean, the other way it talks is through a stereo, through the aux port. That's separate, obviously. Bar speed, you can change the speed all of these scroll, so I'll change that right up to full. Oh, sorry, that's a slow setting. And if I go hold that way down there, they go crazy fast. I like mine sort of in the middle. Out there, that'll do. Trimmers. Old electronics have the little trim pots where you have to sort of drive down the road with a tiny little screwdriver trying to adjust your speed or whatever. These are digital, it's all built in. So I'll be honest, I put my GPS on the windscreen when I installed and do the speedometer, and it was actually spot on to the mile, so that was great. You can adjust your fuel, your temperature to get these in sync with what your car's actually telling you, which is good. So you can choose between miles per hour or kilometers. Sensor, if you've got a later year car like mine, that's fine. If you've got an earlier car and you have to fit one of those Cyberdyne things, you can choose that as it's different signals. You can choose between 8 or 6 cylinders, so it recognises the different engines. Temperature, you can have Fahrenheit, Celsius. The display, 69. That's like a funny little thing where on some episodes some of the digits were missing. It's not really something I'll change, so I'll just leave that the way it is. The green LED, that's that. You can have it always on or always off. Shift high, I'm not actually sure what that is. Service engine, messages, handbrake, mileage, you put your mileage in and it takes over and it just keeps counting up with the stock one, which is still behind there somewhere. And I think that's everything in here, so I'll just save. I changed the speed before, didn't I? And it goes back to scrolling through all the car values. You press the button and there you go. Pretty comprehensive. I'm still more than happy with these electronics. I've had them a little while now and there's been no problems at all. So I think next we'll get kit out the garage and go for a little drive and you can see them on the road, everything working. I'll also say while we're still in here where it's quiet you can see properly, I've noticed on other electronics the refresh rate of the digits is really slow. On this it's really quick, like it is on the stage dash, which is just a nice little feature. And there we go. Well, I went for a drive and recorded and it didn't turn out very well because it's really sunny outside and the little mount I've got is just for my camera phone and it was shaking all over the place so you couldn't really see. But I'm back in the garage now after being for a drive. I'll cut in a couple of the shots if they look okay, but I'll run the car in the garage anyway.
I've never been so humiliated in my life.
He says that when the engine's overheating, but I think when you're starting up you just get a spike in the temperature and then it goes back down 202, so that's fine. But that's what he says when he overheats or gets a bit hot. So there's the quick refresh rate of the RPMs, which is nice. I'll show you the RPM warner actually if I give it a good rev. Actually I better not because there's people standing behind the car next to the path. I don't want to give them a heart attack. I'll tell you what, I'll change that. RPM. I've changed it down to 2000 RPM just to show you.
Stop that right this minute.
There you go. Another little thing I forgot to mention in the other video is when you turn the lights on, if you're going down a dark road and turn your high beams on, it'll tell you your high beams are on too. And it also turns off one of those indicators there, so that's them off. And I think that's about it. Hope you can see because it's pretty sunny. These dashboards are a nightmare when the sun's on them, so I apologise for that. It's a clear bit of the road here, so I'll show you the RPM warning and a pursuit thing.